In this evaluation, I'm going to be exploring how I use, developed and challenge conventions from real media text in my production, The Meadows. The first shot that introduces the trailer is a long shot that clearly portrays a man wearing a long black jacket. As well as this, his facial expressions are very bland and straight, which all could be indications that he is the villain of the soap. This creates the plot and the narrative. By introducing a villain in my soap, it relates to props character theory. I also included a low angle to suggest that he is in a position of power and in a hierarchy. As the trailer progresses, it is clear that I developed this convention even more by portraying this character as a dominating character when he maliciously looks over and marginalises other characters. This specifically links to Cohen of marginalisation and essentially weakening other characters. This elicits how he is manipulating and suggests that he is the destruction of the town. To evoke this idea further, I filmed at a time in the day where the lighting was low lit and dull. This links to how I used dull and dark colours on my poster, which shows the tension and the drama, and ultimately made them link. However, this does contrast the magazine cover with the bright and colourful colours that were required for a magazine front cover. However, this was how I met the key conventions of a magazine. I further challenged this idea of presenting a villain by a split screen of a woman character looking back at him in disgust. This challenges the typical conventions of battling the villain in the soap. Because after my research, it was obvious that most soaps have a dramatic and unhappy ending, and usually the villain doesn't get defeated. I also challenged McRobbie's stereotypes of presenting a woman as a weaker sex. This was because I had a female character dominating the villain, who was a male, by having a shot of her looking down at him. The split screen could also suggest that they are star-crossed lovers and their relationship has ended brutally. I also show a woman at the start who leaves what is thought to be her husband, and by using the verbal code "it's over" and the semantic symbol of the wedding ring, this represents a strong woman who is independent and doesn't need a man in her life. This ultimately creates the drama of the relationship breaking down and ending, which shows the verisimilitude of the soap. Although, despite me converting the typical conventions, I did, however, use a damsel in distress, which alludes to props character theory and also links to the stereotypes that McRobbie talks about in his theory. This was when the young lady was presented vulnerable at the bus stop with the pregnancy test. It shows her vulnerability and her naivety. Throughout the trailer, I showed key scenes of the village in the background, which ultimately links to Kat's theories of the audience relating to the soap and the characters. I also specifically used a traditional English pub, a public living space that is iconography to London. I also included the meadows in the background, which directly links to the soap title and links to the conventions of a soap opera. As well as setting, the audience can also relate to what the characters are wearing and their costumes. This is due to their everyday outfits. This therefore links to Kat's gratification theory and personal identification. The characters that had relevance and importance to the plot of the soap were wearing black because it indicated that a darkness and evil was upon them, and essentially that they were involved in the drama of the plot. The binary opposites, however, which is Levi Strauss' theory of the t-shirts juxtaposing his smart straight jacket, creates It creates the theme of class in my soap opera, which therefore helps the audience, who would be a working class, to relate to these characters. This shows how I have challenged and developed key conventions of a soap opera genre. The non-diegetic sound of the song Durban Skies that runs throughout our whole trailer really explicits the narrative by the verbal codes of the lyrics. This is because they talk about a little town and how it all went down, which suggests that something evil has occurred, which essentially makes the audience want to watch our soap opera. This building of tension is a key convention of a soap opera genre, which gets people to want to watch them, which is essentially what they want to do each week, as a soap opera is on 3 out of 7 days a week. As well as this, I had a non-diegetic sound of a police siren at the end, which is an essential Enigma code for a crime or a murder. However, due to the sound appearing with a black screen, it leaves the audience in suspense and ultimately creates a cliffhanger, leaving them with unknown information. Black screens are used to build tension and slow the editing to emphasise on the importance. Black screens are also used in other trailers that I've analysed, which really create the drama. In terms of showing and expressing when and where the soap opera would be aired, I added a recording of my own voice that says "The Meadows, 4th of June on BBC Two, don't miss it, it'll be a killer." As a non-diegetic sound, this metaphorical language evokes the idea it's going to be good, so you wouldn't want to miss it. This came up with the BBC Two logo and the title of our soap opera film. This explicitly shows people where they would find the soap. This was a key element to include from analysing the following trailers of EastEnders and Coronation Street. As well as this, I made sure the BBC Two logo was on the poster to link to the trailer. This was because the poster, the trailer and the magazine are all key media products to promote my soap. However, the magazine front cover, I did not include this relevant information. This was due to the information being placed on the inside pages and not on the front cover. However, I did develop this and create my own ideas by placing information such as a fortnight ending, which informs the reader that this plot will run for 2 weeks. Ultimately, through my trailer and ancillary tasks, I made sure I met all the conventions and challenged them as well. During research, I successfully learned about the key conventions in real media text, which I ensured that I used in my own media product, The Meadows.